Hi, and welcome to this week's Three Legs, Four Wheels F1 podcast. It's Paul here with...
Sean.
Chris.
And Lee.
We should have been recording all of that earlier because I'm sure people would have put us right on our thoughts on cryptocurrencies versus the Mandalorian.
No, it wasn't versus. It was all part of the same package.
Yeah. If anything, it was Mandalorian backs Bitcoin.
Yeah, I think it was.
Listeners, you should have been there. Right, how are we all doing? Have we recovered?
Okay.
Have we recovered from the orange party of the weekend?
I'd love to have been there.
Yeah, it did look like a great event. I did have a massive energy slump after the race, though. I don't know whether it was maybe the hype of the crowd. I was very excited for the race, and the race just wasn't quite matching up to it for me.
I blame Tiesto.
No, DJ Tiesto, apparently.
No, that's not his
No,
name.
not DJ Tiesto. I don't know why Sky insisted on calling him
This
that.
guy
I
did
put
not
on
know
our
who
chat
he
thread.
was.
No, it's like being like, oh, here is metal band Metallica. Like, that's not like, you don't need to say that.
Or like when Ted Kravitz and Martin Brundle both managed to blank Hector Bellerin from Arsenal because they had no idea who he was.
Yeah.
To be fair, I wouldn't.
Football's Hector Bellerin.
Footballer Hector Bellerin.
From Football's Arsenal.
Yes.
Oh. Really?
We all know Lee's a massive football fan.
Do you know what? I only worked out. Oh, sorry, I do, because is Ronaldo going back to Man United?
He is there.
Right. That means I know a footballer in a team. And
This
I only
is
realised the other
progress.
day, I was so out of the thing because I don't really go and watch football anymore with people in pubs or anything like that. I was so out of it that I didn't know a single footballer from a team. I couldn't tie a name to a team.
I thought you were
And
about to.
that's
I thought you were about to say you
Even
still
for
thought.
me.
I thought you were about to say Ronaldo was still at Man United.
No. That's impressive even for me, from my lack of
No,
knowledge of football.
you know one footballer now.
Yep, one
Good.
footballist.
What you like on F1 drivers?
Pretty good, I think.
We'll start with the news. There's some Monday.
It's controversial.
I know, but something's happened on a Monday. We've got to get it in while it's still valid. But only one of the two things that we need to happen has happened on a Monday. The Bottas part.
Yes.
I mean, the rumours were there that he was going to Alfa Romeo, but I guess where else was there for him to go?
I watched an interesting video this afternoon from the race talking about this, saying that in hindsight, it would have been better if, on his own accord, Valtteri would have hung his helmet up with Mercedes last year, and there would have been like a host of teams that he could have like approached, from McLaren not having Daniel Ricciardo to Vettel hadn't gone to Aston Martin. There was Alpine hadn't confirmed Alonso. There was teams he could have tried to go to. Now this time around, he's been stuck with Alfa Romeo and Williams.
Yeah, it's not giving him a great deal of choice, has it?
Mm.
But I mean,
Do you think he made the right one?
I don't know, because Williams is looking a lot better than it has been of late.
Yeah.
But it's all for 2022, though, isn't it? The new rules. That's what you got to bear in mind. Cars able to race closer. Cars, hopefully able to pass each other a bit easier as well. Hopefully that midfield won't be so midfieldy. You'll have a team that could finish, circuit dependent. Could finish 7th or 8th one race and then be challenging for the win, perhaps at the next race, purely because of the new rules. That's kind of the idea. Obviously, an order will eventually shuffle out, but the order totally resets next year. So to move teams just as the regulations change, it is a throw of the dice. It's a pretty big gamble, but it's one I think Bottas is quite keen to get on with.
I mean, we know that Fred Vasseur is a big fan of the slightly past their sell-by date Finn.
He had, yes, he's bought one before.
The thing is, there's also rumours, isn't there, around Sauber and their future. Like, obviously, Alpha have signed, haven't they? For is it another 2 years in Formula One?
That rings a bell.
But I think Fred Vasseur is quite keen on getting Sauber as an independent, entity again, and possibly moving away from having such close ties to any manufacturer.
Well, yeah, because, the next deal with Ferrari that comes in next year is that they don't have to have a Ferrari Junior in the team, so they get control of both of their seats, which is the first time since the Alpha deal was announced. So, maybe the separation is starting now, so 22 and 23, they've got control over the drivers. And then come 2024, God, I can't believe we're talking about 2024 already. They're back to being Sauber, and they can have the engines that they want. It could be a Sauber Alpine. It could be back to the old days of Sauber Mercedes.
Could be a Sauber Red Bull. That's an engine.
That is true. Red Bull was the original Sauber sponsors.
Yeah, well, I don't think they were quite the original sponsors, were they? Because I think Saubers were black when they first came into Formula One, with hardly any sponsorship other than a Mercedes-Benz logo on the side. Because don't forget, it was Sauber that brought Mercedes back into Formula One in '93.
Yeah, they were the original sort of de facto Mercedes factory team before McLaren took it on.
Yeah, but McLaren had those 2 awful years with Peugeot and Ford in '93 and '94. Then, obviously, '95 they went to Mercedes engines, and that's where the motorsport dominance began, I suppose. McLaren obviously carried Mercedes through to 2013, was it?
Was 13?
14?
I think 14 was the. 14 was
that.
last.
Yeah,
14 was the last year, was it?
15 sounds about right for
Yeah.
the start of the era.
By which point Mercedes already had their own team and were winning that year's world championship. So it is all down to Sauber that happened. So yeah, I can understand why Sauber would like to be independent again. We know that the previous managers of the team might not have done the best job at keeping them legally afloat.
I was just going to go for legal.
Yeah, legal is a good one as well, which is strange because she was a lawyer.
Yeah, her mouth was cashing checks that her bank account really shouldn't have accepted.
Well, Peter Sauber's bank account shouldn't have accepted, but yeah, it wasn't run in the best way, and that didn't come to light until some time afterwards, obviously. But for Fred Vasseur, obviously used to be at Renault, now he's at Sauber, and he's clearly got a vision for what that team's supposed to be. And Bottas, I think, is a long-term part of that.
He is as well, I think, still quite involved in ART in Formula 2 and Formula 3, which do a lot with, I think, Mercedes and Red Bull. They take a lot of the juniors from there. And
George Russell was in ART.
He was. I think they've had a couple of Ferrari drivers as well, so he's very involved at the sort of younger end of the driver spectrum.
I think Leclerc was.
Does anyone find it weird? Does anyone find it weird that Nick de Vries is hot-tipped to be Bottas' teammate, therefore meaning what we thought was originally the Ferrari Junior team as an all-Mercedes lineup?
Yes and no, I think. I'm not surprised that de Vries has sort of come back around as a rumour, because I think it was a bit strange that he didn't get the chance anyway after winning the F2 title. I think he was, he beat Latifi to that title, and Latifi got the shot and de Vries didn't, and de Vries has done well in Formula E. But yeah, it is strange that is where he would go in and not, say, Williams.
Well, I don't know, because the second Williams seat, I take it we're just sort of glossing over the fact we are taking it as read that George Russell is going to Mercedes. It's not been announced at time of going to press.
Who else are they going to announce?
Hello Tuesday.
Yes.
Not even going to bother with a jump cut. We're just saying George Russell.
Unless they do announce Ocon or something, and then we'll.
Let me just check Formula One Twitter. Give me a second.
I'm on it. I've got it up as a window just in case something.
Oh yeah, no, I don't think it's been announced just yet, but you never know.
Well, tell you what, I'll do a jump cut tomorrow if it isn't George Russell. How about that?
Yes, that's the safest bet.
Yeah.
Congratulations! And now you can cut any one of these names in.
Stoffel.
De Vries.
Maeve Raganathan.
Robert Kubica.
I mean, it's not nailed on that Nick De Vries is going to be taking the other Sauber Alpha seat, because
No.
the rumor is from a variety of sources, some of which I'd even trust.
Oh,
Exactly, is that Albon alright is favourite for George's seat at Williams alongside Latifi, because it looks like he's going to be re-signed.
because he has the monies.
Yes. But if Red Bull won't release him from the Young Driver programme, then Toto is going to veto it. A Toto veto.
There was another thing put out today from Christian Horner saying that they hope there is a way around him going there without having to leave the Red Bull program. So it feels like there's going to be something else going on there.
Yeah.
And it's probably just a bit of posturing, isn't it? You know, it's the old Toto and Christian aren't getting on particularly well now, are they?
What, Toto and Horner having a pissing competition against each other?
Yeah.
Christ, never seen that.
I feel that they both need to go around the back of the shed and give each other a reach around, and then come back, and everything will be better for them. There's some stress that needs worked out, isn't there?
Anyway, Antonio Giovinazzi currently drives for Alfa Romeo. But yeah, obviously that would leave Giovinazzi in a little bit of a limbo. But the one of the rumors I read today from a not very reliable source, so don't know how true it'll be, was that Antonio Giovinazzi will just go to Ferrari as their reserve and third driver, and just that will be his job, much like Buemi did at Red Bull for some years.
And apparently Pascal Wehrlein may or may not be at Ferrari.
He's a development driver, isn't he? Not an actual reserve.
Oh, God only knows. So do you reckon 10 years time we'll see Giovinazzi in the Marc Genet role, looking very
could
uncomfortable
be.
in an ill-fitting Ferrari suit?
Yes.
No. That will be Marc Genet.
And surely by that time it'll be Giancarlo Fisichella, if we're all honest with each
Oh,
other.
yes, that's a good shout.
I think they're still paying him just to sit at home, aren't they?
Did he not do Le Mans?
Yeah, in one of the amateur teams.
Yeah.
I'm Googling Giancarlo Fisichella because
I'm sure,
very...
yeah, he is still sort of in their GT program, but yeah, I think he might be, like you say, sort of gold driver for hire to amateur teams with a Ferrari.
But yeah,
I'm also intrigued as to what he looks like now.
Still looks very much like Giancarlo Fisichella. Time has done him well.
Time has done him well.
Yeah.
We're all going to have to look this up now.
we're all good. Listeners, join in.
Yes, let's all
Google
have a look.
Giancarlo Fisichella. He has aged like a fine Italian wine.
He's a handsome man, isn't he? He was always a handsome man.
I mean, the picture on his wiki page is from the 2012 6 Hours of Fuji. So I'll look for a more up-to-date one.
Yes.
I thought you were going to say 6 hours of food then. I thought, fuck, that makes it even more impressive.
He has grown into his face.
Yeah, he has.
He does look fairly sort of samey to previous photos of himself.
Oh, wait. Giancarlo Fisichella crashed at Zandvoort in 2021.
I mean,
I must see this.
the guy's got a great taste in birthdays.
The terrible thing now is if Flood went, oh my God, he doesn't look like that anymore.
But you know what? This is somebody's game that they've put on YouTube. I'm not watching it.
Somebody has crashed him.
So as I was about to say before we got Italianly distracted, is that a thing?
Easy to do.
Yeah. The 2022 grid is definitely shaping up. Mm-hmm. Williams appear to be keeping Latifi, partnering him with probably going to be Albon, because Toto and Christian always manage to sort it out just in time for the closing credits. Nothing's changed by the end of the episode. They are Seinfeld. That leaves the other seat at Alfa Romeo, which yeah, if it's Nick De Vries. I mean, he's got a decent background. He was 4th in the 2018 F2 Championship. Which, all right, 4th, yeah. But the 3 drivers that were ahead of him were George Russell, Lando Norris, and Alex Albon.
Yeah, it was a particularly strong season, that one.
You know, the top,
and he
the
did.
top
He
three
was a
made the
winner,
jump.
wasn't he?
He's won.
He was a
Yeah.
race winner.
Yeah, he's won F2 and GP2 races.
Well, he won the
Yeah.
F2 title the
And
following
then won the
year.
F2 title, obviously, the following year.
Yeah, no, but even that year with
yeah,
Lando,
that year
George,
he was fairly
yeah.
competitive.
Yeah. And, I mean, he was on the McLaren programme, he was on the McLaren Junior programme that long ago that he was in episodes of Tombed.
He was.
Yes, yeah.
Remember?
Wow.
Tombed?
Okay. Yeah.
So, you know, he's had good training from Ron and Professor M. I was only watching a couple of episodes of Tombed the other night just to remind myself what it was like. I miss it.
I hated it.
Was the issue not that season 2 they were trying to get like Button and Perez to be a thing, and they clearly did not get on?
Yeah.
Yeah, that didn't help. To me, it felt like Ron Dennis trying to show that McLaren had a personality, but in a really Ron Dennis way.
Yeah, it could have done with slightly less words, probably.
Yes.
So, any other seats that we think are going to change then? Because I think most of the other teams do seem to be pretty stable. Haas is possibly the only one with any
Mick
likelihood
Schumacher
of
might
change.
leave.
Yeah, because
Yeah, Mick Schumacher could find himself at Alpha just yet because he had some pretty choice words after the race yesterday.
Yeah, he was a little bit narky with gravel spin. That's my new name for him, by the way.
But what's his name came out to defend Mazepin, didn't he? With that, and said that it wasn't wasn't Mazepin's fault, that incident.
Well,
Good
Gunter
Steiner.
Steiner said it with
Yeah.
a large wodge of cash from Mazepin's dad in his back pocket, waiting him down.
No,
to
I think Mick Schumacher and Mazepin are as bad as each other. And that, I don't even mean that to say that they're particularly bad drivers. They've got a terrible car at the minute, and they just happen to be on the same piece of track as each other.
Yeah.
But I don't think we haven't seen either in either of them yet.
I think as well they've both got that sort of, like you say, they both have a sort of similar kind of "don't you know who my dad is" sort of mentality.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, it doesn't
it's
bode well, does it?
Yeah, and it's a sort of certain like an entitled vibe.
It's a tough one because they're stuck at the back and they can only really race each other. They're not really matching any other team for pace, even on a Sunday.
And to be fair to Mazepin, he was racing Schumacher pretty hard during the race
Well,
until
they had an
obviously
issue
couldn't.
in qualifying as well, didn't they? Where I think Mazepin was meant to be, it was his race to be ahead on the track, and Schumacher got past him somewhere, and then that's how they ended up tripping over Vettel. And there was some kind of incident where Schumacher wasn't meant to be ahead of him, but somehow got ahead of him.
Yeah.
And then they were playing put your teammate into the wall, which is something that Schumacher Senior was definitely guilty of doing from time to time. Just on
I would say he was a world champion at that.
He was even really good at putting his teammate into the wall when it wasn't his teammate anymore, and he was driving a Williams.
Yeah.
I think the best try and put your teammate in a wall was US 2005, where he drove Barrichello off track, even though there was only 4 other cars.
Yes, that was up there.
Just on the subject of Haas, we've had a question sent in a tweet from a friend of the podcast, Sutty Corbett.
Hello, Sutty.
Is Gunter part of the problem at Haas? They always have driver issues and a shit car. It's on his watch. Could it be him?
Not this time because they haven't built a new car.
No, exactly. Yeah.
The car, definitely not. The drivers, I guess, part of it. You could potentially say is down to Steiner. Managing the drivers is part of his job.
It's the team principal's job to babysit the drivers. I can't remember who said that, and I'm quoting probably quoting Drive to Survive.
It is, but at the same time, do you remember you do not want to fox smash Gunter Steiner's door?
That is true.
Yeah, he still did fox smash the door.
Yeah, and then now he has no job. No, not on Formula One anyway.
Mazepin did buy him a door, so I don't know whether Mazepin's like getting some credit in case he ever does accidentally Fox smash the door.
Accidentally, yeah.
I feel he's got the same job as what was your man? French guy. He was in charge of Renault. They went to McLaren.
Cyril Abiteboul? No, Eric
Boulier.
Boulier.
No, Eric Boulier. Yeah, because we gave Boulier quite some
inspector.
stick. Yeah, but we give him quite some stick, didn't we? Until he ended up going to McLaren, we thought, oh shit, he was putting out fires everywhere.
Yeah.
And I feel that's Gunter Steiner's job. He's not even being team principal. He's trying to like tell the other people that he can control where to bail the water out of.
And of course, with all the Mazepin back in there, chemical fires. I mean, it can't be an easy job having to control two drivers that can't stand each other.
No.
And one of the drivers that can't stand the other drivers, their family is like keeping that team financially afloat.
Which is why I think Mick Schumacher, he said, I'll see if I can find the quote whilst you guys are talking. I mean, this would be a great place to start the race review as well, because Haas are the first team on the list.
We will just seamlessly blend from news to review.
That was such a segue. You could do a lap of the lap of the track on it.
A lack of the trap.
Yeah. So I mean, the first thing is, Mazepin DNF'd. Hydraulic problems apparently.
Yes. Didn't go into any more detail than that, I don't think. It was just, hydraulics.
Yeah, because the special sensors that say what part of the car has gone wrong have broken. Schumacher pitted early after the running with Mazepin in the first couple of laps, where he ended up needing a new front wing. I think it was about lap 3?
Something like that. It was very early on, yeah.
2 or 3. We were joking at the time, it's probably just to stick them on completely separate strategies and keep them separated for the entire race and only bring them together at the end. Which wouldn't put it past him at the moment. But yeah, another of those races for Haas. We're just going to have to keep skipping over them until the end of the season because nothing's going to improve. But we knew that from Bahrain onwards because they said they weren't doing anything with the car.
I suppose the worrying thing is the fact that they do find themselves much like Roman Grosjean and what was his teammate? Where's the
Kevin
name
Magnussen.
Yeah, thank you. Whenever they sort of found themselves next to each other, they were always bashing into each other and stuff like that. So even if the car gets better, that's kind of not going to change anything, is it? They just might be in the same position with other people to bash into around them.
You saying it's sort of for everyone's interest, really, that they're out the back doing their own thing?
Yeah, I don't see what giving... If you look at the form, I don't see what giving them a faster car does.
It's like when you see a really sort of horrid couple and you think it's just as well they're together than they're not screwing two other separate people's lives up.
Yeah, the worst driver lineup on the grid has to be, doesn't it?
Oh,
yeah, probably.
By a long way.
By some way. I mean, even like Latifi looked pretty shabby, didn't he? To start with in Formula One, where we thought, oh fuck, he's well out of his depth now. But I think he deserves another year now.
Overtake of the race yesterday, absolutely. Was it on Mazepin?
Probably.
When he went round the outside, didn't he? At turn 1, it was fantastic.
Yeah. I mean, to be fair, Mazepin probably just thought somebody else was lapping him. He probably just caught him unawares.
He's on the radio straight afterwards going, "Where's the blue flag? I beat him to it."
Yeah, let the Mercedes through. That wasn't a Mercedes.
I mean, we move on to Williams next. George in 17th, Latifi in 16th. They were looking good on Saturday until they both binned it towards the end.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I was surprised that George managed to get going again. Shame that he didn't get out and to do another lap. But and Latifi as well, pushing hard, but not. Yeah, the car just let go in the wrong place, didn't it? We saw it in practice sessions. that the circuit's pretty unforgiving. If you make a mistake, you're probably going to get caught out in the barriers.
Yeah, I think
Quite,
the
yeah.
problem is with getting offline on that circuit is there's that much sand everywhere. Because I mean, did anyone see the rooster trails coming up when they were offline? Certainly during practice and qualifying. Yeah, it was.
No, I saw them during the race, but I assume that was mostly just the marbles because there was a lot of marbles on the circuit.
Yeah, I mean that circuit was incredibly abrasive. That's why Pirelli were using the
hardest
of the hard tyres.
The mega hard.
But no, when anyone was getting offline during the earlier sessions, there was a lot of sand on track, and I think possibly on Friday they said that the Italian company that they used to actually build and design the circuit had come up with a special formulation surface that didn't have problems with sand landing on it all the time.
Oh. Fair enough.
So yeah, that's getting offline. You've got a mixture of sand and marbles. I know this sounds like something out of Home Alone. You get offline and Macaulay Culkin smashes an iron into your face.
Sounds like Haas to me.
Yeah.
I was just going to say life at Haas.
But yeah,
With Macaulay Culkin's part being played by Mick Schumacher.
But Williams did end up suffering on Saturday. George was running sort of okayish and then started dropping down and then pitted twice in the last 3 laps, and he ended up not taking the checkered flag because
Yeah, technically he did retire, but was classified.
He was
ahead
classified,
of
yeah.
because he'd done more distance.
Mm.
I think it was a gearbox. I think.
Yeah, I'm wondering if it's related to the off on Saturday and the gearbox just sort of gave out.
Yeah, I mean it won't have done any favours. Gearboxes don't particularly enjoy being crashed.
No, I think sneeze on one and it needs changing. They're that sensitive sometimes. And Latifi, pit lane start, going around in a rebuilt car because he trashed it on Saturday. Good overtake on Mazepin. And Williams' Sunday pace just isn't there yet.
Well, no. I mean, we were talking before, weren't we, about how 2x2, especially the back half of the grid was, how they finished. Williams finishing 16th and 17th, Alfa Romeo finishing 14th and 15th, Aston Martin 12th and 13th, and McLaren 10th and 11th. It kind of shuffled the pack out to sort of where the cars actually were. And we know that Williams is probably quite far down the road from Haas, but maybe not quite as good as Alfa Romeo, and that really showed.
Yeah, I think if it hadn't been for George Russell's issues and a 5-second penalty for speeding in the pit lane, we'd have seen him ahead of at least one, if not not both Alphas. But in the end, you play the hand you dealt, and at the moment, I'm choking.
You all right there?
Choke the hand you dealt.
Yeah, just got a really tickly throat. Right, talking of choking, Giovinazzi.
No, he didn't choke. He had a puncture. That's unfair.
He had a great qualifying.
I mean,
he did.
That was his joint best qualifying session ever in 7th. Gotta say, you gotta tip your hat to Kubica coming in at short notice. Get well soon, Kimmy.
I did feel so sorry for Callum Eilert, though, who was off on other ventures this weekend, because it would have been a really nice time for him, I think, to get a run out in the car, particularly given that we're thinking Alpha may be all change for next year.
Do you think he might get a run next weekend if Kimi still runs he?
Possibly.
Kubica or Eilert?
Eilert won't.
No, because he's doing Indy.
Yeah, the Indy race is next Sunday.
Oh well.
So no, he was scheduled to be in the US last week and this week because he had his rookie test.
Yes,
last week, and I mean he tweeted "just my luck."
He did, and then deleted it probably because he got a finger wagging from someone.
Yeah, possibly a high up in Ferrari. The kind of person you don't want to ignore, or Marc Genet. We're mentioning Kimi's coronavirus. I've developed a cough.
Is that how contagious it is?
It must be. It must be.
The Kimi variant.
But yeah, Kubica, his first time in the car since the end of the 2019 season. Qualified ahead of the Hasses and brought it home ahead of the one finishing Haas and the two Williams.
He did the job, didn't he?
Decent Alfa Romeo performance. He lived up to the
Yeah.
car. I think it goes to show how much of a dog that Williams was in.
Yeah.
Was 2 years ago.
Oh yeah, no, totally. But at the same time, Giovinazzi had a puncture, had to make an extra pit stop, and still finished ahead of Kubica. Not trying to take anything away from Robert Kubica at all whatsoever, because he literally got the call on Saturday morning. But it's such a physical circuit as well, according to all the drivers. And for Kubica, whose fitness won't be quite there, because obviously he's not raced Formula One for 18 months, 2 years nearly.
Nearly 2 years.
Yeah, just short of 2 years, and he's been mainly doing DTM and WEC.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but yeah, it's it's a solid performance from Robert Kubica.
Yeah. Aston Martin next. Vettel, I'm putting this one down as a weekend to forget.
Yes, that seems fair. Poor
Yeah.
qualifying, getting tripped up by the Hasses, and then spinning in the race.
The only driver who brought out a yellow flag.
Was he the only driver?
I think he might have
think
been.
there might
He was
have only-
certainly the first.
Yeah, it was definitely the first yellow flag, which came about 30 seconds after Statman, next week's guest, tweeted, "You do realise we've not had a yellow flag in this race?"
This was
And
about
then
36
Vettel went and
laps
spun.
in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Vettel wasn't on it. I mean, he actually said after at the end of qualifying that they didn't have the pace anyway.
But their long run pace looked really good on Friday. So the fact that both of them, as I say, were lying astern 12th and 13th, does that not say to you that Aston Martin's probably not quite as quick as the McLaren at the moment, but quicker than Alfa Romeo?
Well, the thing was, Vettel had a very interesting problem on Friday when he had the oil pressure issues.
Is that when he was a bit smoky?
That's when he was smoking, and that led to the engine going. Didn't let go. It was just the oil pump that needed changing. And we had the 30-minute break during FP1 because they had to wait until Vettel had put the fire out himself. That's another one on the list of his jobs. And the safety crew turned up with some rubber matting that they could put over the car so they could touch the car because the whole thing was live.
Nice.
But it was the same oil pump problem in the Mercedes engine that Lewis Hamilton had.
Interesting.
So it looks like Mercedes were having trouble, possibly down to the banking, with oil
Because
pressures.
we saw Ricciardo with a smoky McLaren at the start of the race, which seemed to sort of quickly burn off whatever the issue was.
Yeah.
Well, no, I think that hindered his race all throughout,
Possibly,
didn't
yeah. But
Scarb seemed to think that was just an overfill of oil. because it
overfill
coming
was
out of
my suggestion at the time.
Yeah. He mentioned on Twitter that it was coming out of the top, like the top outlet rather than the bottom outlet. And he said if it was an actual engine problem, it would have come out the bottom.
Missed that one. But yeah, there was sort of rumourings all weekend on Sky that the Mercedes engine was having problems with the banking in certain parts. So I mean, it led to two breakdowns during practice, and Aston Martin were definitely off the pace. And I don't think they've got they do have Mercedes staff in the garage for the power unit, but they're not going to have the same level of staff and expertise that Mercedes have got in there for it.
No.
To put it right, so I think that's what hindered them, and I think that's what made them slower than McLaren, who were 10th and 11th.
Yeah, fair enough. But McLaren also used Mercedes engines.
But McLaren generally have a faster car than Aston Martin.
Yeah, absolutely. That's my the point I was trying to make. McLaren have most of the season been up and ahead of Aston Martin, but I think the second half of the season, this might be how the pack shuffles, because obviously some teams have chosen to stop development before the new rules, and some teams have decided to carry on. I'm wondering if Aston Martin and McLaren are maybe two of the teams who decided, you know what, let's not bother too much with this year's car and fully concentrate on next year.
Maybe.
With the way that McLaren seem to have dropped off a little bit compared to other teams, yeah, you could be right on that one. And
I mean, it's only this race, so it could be circuit dependent. I mean, we'll see.
I think it was situation
Monza.
dependent, because when you look at like Lando threw practice was right up there. He looked like he was in the shout for pole again through practice. But when it came to qualifying, his pace just disappeared. Jenson Button seemed to think it was down to like wind direction change, and apparently, like one of the strengths of Lando's driving is how late he brakes, and he thinks that might have just been throwing him off for like his like outright pace. I think it was a tricky qualifying for Lando, not McLaren being slow, because Daniel Ricciardo was where Daniel Ricciardo's always been this year.
Well, Daniel Ricciardo out-qualified Lando. Lando didn't get the lap in because of Russell's accident?
Yeah, it was the 2 red flags.
But even before that, he wasn't quite on the pace you'd expect you'd expect Lando to be on. But what I'm saying is, I don't think McLaren were uncompetitive. I think their competitive driver was on his back foot.
There was something that spooked him. I mean, he did say it was a bit blowy, and then carried on that sentence about 10 minutes later when he finished laughing.
Yeah. So I still think McLaren were if Lando had have carried on into practice like he was going in, in qualifying like he was going in practice, I think he'd have been with Gasly and like ahead of the Ferraris just on natural pace. I don't think the pecking order's changed for McLaren and Ferrari. I just think they're kind of like Red Bull. I mean, like when you look at where Sergio Perez usually is, or I mean, obviously he had a bad qualifying this time round, but if Max Verstappen has a bad qualifying, we wouldn't go, oh, everyone's overtaken Red Bull. We'd go, Max Verstappen's had a bad qualifying.
Yeah, but if Max Verstappen has a bad qualifying, he starts third.
No, yeah, but if he happened to have a really, but I think you could give the same leeway to Lando, to be honest. But
I think McLaren have slowly been slipping as the season's gone on, because obviously we had a couple of podiums early season, and then they were not miles ahead of Ferrari, but they were comfortably ahead for quite some time, and then they've just slowly gone backwards. All I'm saying is it just makes me think if their development has just maybe halted for this year's car, or is a lot slower than a lot of the other teams.
Without the crash, Lando would have got pole at Spa, I think.
Yeah, I think so, possibly.
But again, that's weather sort of bringing them forward, isn't it?
Is it whether they're them forward, or is it just the fact that because they've got a decent car, they performed well, and they've got our driver, which is on top of the car? I don't think there's any worries yet. That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, I think I can see Ferrari finishing the season ahead of McLaren.
Maybe, but I think that's going to be more down to Daniel Ricciardo hemorrhaging points. Because let's not forget, if Daniel Ricciardo had performed better this year, Ferrari wouldn't be ahead on points now. McLaren will be well down the road.
But are we?
That's a fair thing to say. Yeah.
But are we hitting the stage now where the Ferraris appear to both appear to be faster? Like I said, we'll know more after the next race, just purely simply because it's the temple of speed.
Yeah,
I think the thing is, sorry, Sean, go on.
I was going to say, it's such a different track, isn't it, that someone who maybe looks like they've slipped back this weekend, we will get the answers, as you say, this coming weekend.
Yeah, it's a huge difference in terms of circuit, very different.
Yeah, I mean,
I think Ferrari
we'll know the speed of each car this weekend.
Yeah, I think will we? I mean, I think Ferrari is a very circuit-dependent car. Where we've seen, where Monaco, where they were fucking right up there.
Baku as well.
Yeah, I think we're going to see races through the year where Ferrari are really competitive. I think all in all, your McLaren will be a better car, better suited to more tracks through the rest of the year.
When we find out what the rest of the calendar actually looks like officially. Alpine next. Ocon in 9th and Alonso in 6th. Now, that start from Alonso...
Oh, he was on it, wasn't he, first lap?
I am putting that down to his Indy 500 experience and having more more nous on banking than anyone else
Could
because
be.
he was
that's a good shout.
he was using
Brothers.
that he was using that banking on the first lap to its fullest extent.
It was a proper yep, there's a gap. Yep, see you having it. Bye. It was very
that was,
very enjoyable.
Yeah, the full-on old-school Alonso start. A little bit Mario Kart on the first lap, admittedly, but I mean, he just got on with it, didn't he? That's and it worked for him. I mean, if he'd had a contact and gone out on the first lap, we'd all be like, "Oh, Alonso, what donkey!" But no, it worked out well for him, and he got a really good result out of it, sandwiching himself between the two Ferraris.
A donkey or Donkey Kong Jr. Just to carry on the Mario Kart reference badly.
He no, definitely not Donkey Kong Jr. He'd be Donkey Kong Senior.
And despite Ocon's claims, he was not faster than Fernando.
Yeah,
Oh, that was funny.
yeah. Fernando's really slow. Yeah, fucking get back to me on that one later, mate. Yeah,
Wasn't he
we'll
two
get back
places
to
behind Alonso at the time?
No,
said
he
it.
was behind Alonso when he
Yeah.
started that, and then I think 3 laps later, Alonso had about 6 seconds on him. It's like, Esteban, get
Yeah.
back in your box. What are you doing?
Alonso said, "Yeah, I am going slow. I'm looking after my tyres. I mean, I can go faster if you want." So then he did go faster.
Yeah, Alpine's turning into the surprise of the season.
I'm
for me.
enjoying Alpine. Yeah.
Most improved, I think, from early doors until mid-season.
Yeah, I mean, okay, they've got to win, but shenanigans and circumstances.
Yeah. They also looked like the most fun garage to be in during Spa last week. They were having a good time.
I didn't see that. The only garage shots I saw were the football match.
Yeah, Alpine and Williams looked like they were having a pretty good time as well, actually. But yeah, Alpine were keeping spirits up.
I suppose got to do something.
Yeah.
I mean, didn't Kovalainen used to have some kind of connection with Renault? So maybe he's left the blueprints for his little boats.
Maybe.
That one
Yeah, there was no boat race though,
No.
was there? That was disappointing.
that one died the death. But yeah, Alpine have they've really come on the further the season's gone on, and I think we're now seeing the real Alonso again.
Mm-hmm.
You know, this is the Alonso that we saw when the Ferrari was half decent, when the Renault was good during all that time, and the 2007 Alonso before Lewis got inside his head, and we're seeing racy Alonso again, which after a while it's been good to see. We're not seeing him destroyed by team politics or an absolute shed of a car or a GP2 engine.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, he's turning in the performances to match it. And, getting sixth there in a completely unfamiliar track. Where, all right, other drivers have raced there before. Bottas has won there 3 times?
Yeah,
I think
Bottas and Verstappen, I think, both won there in junior formula.
But nobody's done it on the banking before. And he comes in with more recent banked corner experience than anyone else and shows everyone how to do it, basically.
Yeah, and like you say, it looked like he was going to get swallowed up towards the end of the race by the cars that were coming on him pretty quickly. But no, he held on. He held on to 6th place, and that's commendable. It's a good performance from both Alpine drivers. I'm not sure we saw an awful lot of Ocon after after Alonso disappeared a little bit, but.
I think we saw him getting passed by Perez quite late on, and I think that was about
that's right, yeah.
his final contribution.
Yeah, I don't think there was a great deal, but no, I think the Alonso was up there as driver of the day for me.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I was a
I
bit
agree.
surprised that Perez got it officially. I would have thought Alonso.
Especially now they've got the Crypto.com Most Overtakes Award, which apparently Vettel's leading this season.
Cool.
Yes.
That's the award for badly qualifying.
That is what I see that as. I think there was one point last year where Giovinazzi was like the most overtakes on the first lap of all the races. Like, it just means he's qualifying out of position.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's like what George Russell gets criticised for, isn't it? Because he's lost places in 6 races. That's great. It just means he's qualifying really
Yeah,
well
his
and
one-lap
probably putting
pace
the
is
car where it
mad.
shouldn't be.
Yeah, there's a reason as well that people like Lewis Hamilton and Lewis Hamilton and Max Verstappen don't overtake on the first lap. It's because they got no one to go past.
Pardon me, sorry for
Oh,
deafening
that's
Daniel.
right in the microphone.
Sorry, I might have to clip that one.
Nah, they love it.
Quick cough of Villeneuve, maybe.
Right, that's that sorted. It won't happen again, promise. Where were we next? It was going to be Ferrari. Sainz in 7th and Leclerc in 5th. I didn't see a great deal of the Ferraris on Sunday. I think I must have looked away every time they were on screen.
I know, I don't
No,
remember much.
Anonymous.
Yeah, quiet race, but just, they did Saturday quite well and then just managed to sort of keep those positions. As we say, it was Alonso who managed to get between them, wasn't it? Because I think they started next to each other. But yeah, Alonso managed to jump Sainz, and it was a fairly solid-ish performance for Ferrari. I think they'd be pretty happy with that.
Yeah, I mean, I think they went there knowing they weren't gonna set the track alight, and they got the best result that they could have done, or maybe slightly lower. Because I'm going to move up to the next team in this while we're doing it. Pierre Gasly.
What, just the team of Pierre Gasly?
Basically, yeah. Well, okay. What did Tsunoda contribute?
Yeah, to be fair,
A retirement.
not so much.
Yeah, this is. I had this little bit of when I was putting the document together. I thought, AlphaTauri. Well, Tsunoda really let them down by retiring, but Gasly was like the quietest but like most underrated drive of the day by far. I think Perez got driver of the day. Alonso, we've just been waxing lyrical about him. I think Gasly starting 4th and finishing 4th is the drive of the day.
Yeah, I mean with
Lando drive.
a few
Yeah,
laps
pretty
in,
much.
a few laps in, he'd got a sizable gap on Leclerc behind him, and that never really changed.
I think, was it a power issue for Tsunoda? I can't quite remember now.
Yes, it was. Apparently, he was the only driver that had never driven there in anything.
That's fair.
So that's why he was struggling all weekend, because he did have a few offs during the course of Friday and Saturday, and then just some sort of engine's not going as fast as it should problem.
Yes.
More top 10 appearances than
Mazepin?
Perez, I believe.
Oh,
Like
Gasly.
qualifying wise. Yeah.
Yeah, it sounds about right.
I know he turned around in his interview, didn't he, after the race? Oh, sorry, before the race or after the race, can't remember. Where he said he didn't quite understand why Red Bull overlooked him to replace Perez, which I thought was quite odd.
You can kind of see his point, though. I mean, what more could he have been doing this year?
Yeah, but I find it quite odd that he was quite so open about it. He was like, what the fuck, guys? Come on.
I suppose, they're not going to fire him because he's too good. They're not going to promote him, despite the fact that he's showing them everything he's got. It's like, why not be critical? What have you got to lose at this point?
Yeah, I mean, if they sign him for next year, then he's got to be on team's radar for 23, for definite.
Yeah, I mean, I think the more I like listen to people about the next year's cars, is the more worried I am for people like Perez and Daniel Ricciardo, because there's no guarantee that the characteristics that are in these cars are going to change that much, because like the apparently the McLaren's like issues that Ricciardo has with it are not necessarily tied to the rule set. They're tied to the way McLaren go about making a racing car. And if Perez is in the same boat and Red Bull are the same, you're not going to fundamentally change the way you go about building a racing car when your lead driver is doing so well. You're still going to work towards those things that driver likes, rather than trying to bring it in the middle somewhere so you can raise your number 2 up.
This is the Ferrari issue over the last couple of years with Vettel and Leclerc, and it was a very Leclerc heavy car. You know, the rear end wasn't Vettel's preference, and that's
hence
what
Spinella.
Yeah, and that's why he ended up struggling so much. And I mean, the ultimate case in point, the second Red Bull. Take away all the added pressure of being in the Red Bull meat grinder, but you've got a car that's designed for someone that's leading the world championship. You better learn to bloody drive it, because there's going to be next to nothing on that car that's going to be your style if you've got a completely contrasting driving style to what Max has.
Which everyone seems to have, because no one can drive the second Red Bull.
Yeah.
No. It just seems odd. It seems odd to me that they didn't bring Gasly up instead of keeping Perez, because Perez hasn't done enough to keep that seat. They just simply don't have anybody else that they feel that they can put into the car.
I really think they should have thought about re-promoting Gasly.
Yeah, I mean, Gasly. All right, take the win aside last year.
Yeah.
He's pushing in that AlphaTauri, and he's proved that he's fast in it.
Yeah.
And there are some weeks that car is one of the fastest three on the grid. This week being a case in point. Maybe the reason for not promoting him is that car's philosophy is completely different to the Red Bull, and it's just that suited to him that he's clicking with it. And if they put him in the Red Bull, maybe it's not the pressure that'll do him in, it's the car. And the best thing...
What's the point in keeping him?
That's the thing, the kind of thing in that case.
Yeah,
it
be to
would
let him
have
go.
been to earlier in the season say, look, guys, we don't want Gasly after this year. Come and sign him.
But the Red Bull organisation want to keep him because he's still bringing home points, and he's bringing home more points than other teams.
I think my worry with that is, and what my thought would be if I was Red Bull, is cause I think, don't get me wrong, Gasly's having a great season. I think my names have gone today. He's in DTM.
Albon? Lawson?
Yeah, I think Albon is a better driver than Gasly. So if Gasly can turn it around, I think Albon can, and he's, he hasn't had the time in Formula One to do something. So it would have made more sense, because they're trying to get Albon back into Formula One. So, and they want to keep him in the program. So that shows that they have some sort of plan, or at least hope to use him in the future. If you get rid of Perez, put Gasly up, bring Albon back to Toro Rosso, it solves all of the driver problems.
I mean, maybe Albon and Gasly in the AlphaTauri next season and wave goodbye to Tsunoda.
Well, I mean, that would be my second option. There's no like 100% tie-in with Honda anymore, is there? I don't think Honda are going to have a say. About the driver lineup. So
I wonder what they're going to do about Liam Lawson, because he's looking pretty good in F2.
Yeah,
he's not quite looking championship.
A shot.
Yeah, he's not looking quite like the championship, is he? Like he was a couple of races back, but he's there or thereabouts.
Isn't he leading DTM now?
He's had a couple of rough rounds, I think, but I think is F2 back this weekend?
F2 is back at Italy, so he could bring his particular set of skills.
Don't. I'm so sorry, Kieran.
So
we'll see what. It's been a long break for F2.
It does feel like it's been a long time since was it Silverstone?
I think it was.
Good God.
Yeah, it's been ages, because the last two races have been F3.
Yeah.
And talking of which, F3's changed their calendar now. They're not.
Oh yeah, that's a whole thing.
Yeah, they're not going to Austin. They're finishing in Sochi instead. I think it's just so it gives us some overtaking to see at Sochi.
That is wishful thinking.
Yeah, man can dream. So yeah, what are they going to do with Lawson? Because he's definitely got the super license points, hasn't he? You looked it up at the weekend.
No, I was looking. Who was I looking up at the weekend? I was looking up Teo Pocher's license points at the weekend. He's got a million of them. Lawson.
He's the other one rumoured that Alfa Romeo are looking at him because he did that test the other week.
Yeah.
In a 2-year-old car, proving nothing, but he was 3.5 seconds a lap faster than our Lord and Saviour Raghunathan.
Yes, and this was literally I think a day after he turned 18.
Yeah.
I didn't turn up to that test, and I was faster than Lord Mahavir.
This is true. But yeah, Pocher, I think, might not quite be there super license points wise.
Well, I suppose it depends, doesn't it? Because if he did 300 kilometres, then that'll be enough to ask for special dispensation.
True.
Talking of which, I did see one comment somewhere. I think it was on one of the races posts, saying that somebody really enjoys the fact that Mazepin's in Formula One because it makes the mockery that it should be over the FIA super license system when he qualifies for a super license, and people like Chase Elliott and Joseph Newgarden don't, who actually win races.
Yeah, that's a weird thing, isn't it? You need to relook at that as because I think that much like we've seen Alonso and a couple of ex-Formula One drivers turn up in IndyCar, it'd be nice if they could do like the other way around or allow I don't know, a rally driver in for one, Ott Tanak or someone like that into a race for just a one-off race. It would be great to do that, but the super license points don't appear to work if you've been a winner or a champion even in other disciplines.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the IndyCar champion, I'm just trying to find in the super license points. The IndyCar champion does get a super license.
But if you're a consistent runner-up in the IndyCar Championship,
you would need to be doing something else as well, because you only get 30.
Not enough.
Not enough, you need 40.
The super license system needs looked at, doesn't it?
It is wild, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. I mean,
yeah,
I've spoken before about the days when we've seen Rossi jump in a Ferrari and be like half a second off of a Schumacher lap in the same car, and then Martin Brundle and Colin McRae switching seats, and Colin McRae was only I think a tenth of a second off of Brundle's best lap in that car round Silverstone. So drivers from other disciplines do have the talent to do it. It's just
it's a closed shop and a billionaire boys club.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
Yeah. Talking of super licenses, though, did you see the tweet that was doing the rounds last week? Which it was the guy who was the head of the Finnish equivalent of the BRDC sent to Max Mosley when he was trying to get Kimi his super license back in 2001.
No, I didn't see that.
Oh, it was a real letter to the headmaster. It was, Dear Mr. Mosley, we firmly believe that Mr. Kimi Räikkönen has all the requisite skills to take part in Formula One after the number of wins that he's had. It was like I think it also said at the bottom, P.S. he can't do games this week. He's got a verruca. But yeah, that was doing the rounds this week. It was actually the guy himself who wrote it that had retweeted it.
Amazing.
And it was just this incredibly polite letter asking permission for Kimi to be allowed to come out and play with Formula One.
I mean, it did the job because he did get a super license despite perhaps maybe not quite ticking all the boxes.
I mean, they didn't have points in those days. It was whether they felt like it or not.
Yeah, pretty much.
But yeah, the whole system does need to be reassessed. Yeah, I'm not saying sort of anyone can make the jump from European F3 to F1. Are we going to see another Max? Probably not. Or British F3 to F1.
No, exactly, yeah.
The way that Jensen did it.
I mean, the thing is, though, I mean, the two examples you've given there, it's not like they didn't work out.
Oh, no, definitely. But when you look at... I mean, I suppose one reason that they want to keep the super license system is the money that's spent buying the rights to F3 and F2.
Mm-hmm.
But how can it be fair, though? How can that be fair?
Now we've got a pathway. Well, there's still the vast majority of European drivers with the occasional American and the occasional Aussie or Kiwi chucked in. But for the vast majority, all the teams are in Europe.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, you look at what Scott McLaughlin is doing in IndyCar this year, coming from V8 supercars. You know, I think there's transferable skills there that he's got to F1, and I think he would have made a great F1 driver. Unfortunately, I think he'd have only got something like 20 super license points and wouldn't be allowed to take part.
Yeah, but remember in the 90s when they used... Yeah, do you remember in the 90s when they used to do, like, seat shares? I'm sure that would bring in a lot more money than actually, you know, to a team than it would do having, like, a permanent driver. I'm thinking Alpha Tauri maybe, shipping that second seat out to... because Red Bull have got sponsorship everywhere, haven't they? Let's be honest.
Yeah.
And pretty much... Imagine if Mark Marquez wanted to come and do a Formula One race, and he was just like, "Yeah, you know what? Like, I'm going to do one Formula One race and then go back to MotoGP when there's not a clash." Like, fucking hell, Mark Marquez is going to take part in a Formula One race. This would be pretty special.
Yeah, I mean, you look at when Red Bull started as a team. For the first couple of seasons, it was David Coulthard and who's in the car this week?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well, like Sebastian Loeb's probably a bit old now, but as probably Ogier is probably a bit old as well now. But you know. I'm pretty sure a rally driver would be able to come in and do, a pretty good job as well. They've got Red Bull sponsorship and all rally cross as well in the US. So there's absolutely no reason why an IndyCar driver, someone like Joseph Newgarden, couldn't come in and do one race. For fuck's sake, Caterham let Andre Lotterer in for a Belgian Grand Prix. Well, because he had some money. So.
They wanted him to do more, and he said, "No, thanks, not in that car."
Yeah, I mean, look, there's something wrong. Don't get me wrong here. Kubica did a perfectly good job this weekend, but there's something wrong when you can't have a top flight, like motor racing driver in a IndyCar and Formula One. Might not be like 100% comparable, but they're top flight, open wheeled, open cockpit racing series.
They are the two closest comparisons that we've got.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But there's something wrong with the world where their top guy can't come in and do a race in Formula One, but a guy who raced 2 years ago and that's essentially just cut about the paddock and played on the simulator for it since then can just come in. There's something wrong with that.
Yeah, I suppose the issue for this weekend specifically would have simply been that Kubica was there, whereas getting an IndyCar guy in. You'd have had to twat about with the bubble.
Well, you couldn't have done it. You couldn't have done it this weekend, but just the fact that that's possible and that's okay. Yeah. But to take somebody else that's a current racing driver isn't.
Yeah, because we've seen people go from like F2 and F3 to IndyCar and excel. Like Alex Palou, who I think is either leading or very close to the top of the IndyCar Championship, was very, very average in F3. And yet has slotted straight into IndyCar. So there must be some kind of transferable skill somewhere along there.
Yeah, which means it's transferable both ways.
Yeah,
so.
Christian Lundgaard as well did a random round. Yeah, Grosjean. Grosjean has gone in. Ericsson, for some reason, is quite good.
Yeah, Max Chilton wasn't bad.
He's still there. He's still there.
Yeah. But the thing is, like, could you imagine that the other way around, where if a Formula One driver wants to go to Indy, and IndyCar were like, no, you need Indy points.
You've got to do a rookie
IndyCars.
test, I think, is your only sort of qualification.
They did that with Jim Clark, didn't they? In whenever it was that Jim Clark went to do the Indy 500, or the Indy 500 still part of the F1 Championship at that point.
I think it might have been.
But he had to do a rookie test. He took great umbrage to the fact he had to go and do a rookie test when he was Jim Clark. But he did his rookie test, and then he went on the Indy 500. And I think he's still got the biggest winning margin ever at the Indy 500. I think.
Well, I think with the Indy 500, it's something different because every rookie, even ones that are regulars in the IndyCar series that season, if they've never driven it before, they have to do the rookie test. Mm-hmm. Remember when Alonso did it a couple of years ago, and his car ate a pigeon.
Yeah, but even way back when, it was the skills were clearly transferable because Jim Clark did his rookie test and then won the Indy 500.
But yeah, that's all you got to do. Prove that you're capable of driving the car. Prove that you're safe in it. Prove that you know what you're doing. Whereas with this, with the super license, you've got the amount of hoops that you've got to jump through because you've got to work your way up through your regional series and then, probably your continental series. Then you get into F3. Then you get into F2, and then you've got to hope that whichever driver development program you're on has a vacancy.
Mm-hmm.
Guan Yu Zhou's also been mentioned for the Alfa Romeo seat because he would bring money in from his backers, but Renault's a sticking point.
Alpine.
Yeah, well, he's on the Alpine list, isn't he? Along with about 15 others.
Yeah, they have invested hard in the youth.
But then the problem is, if you're on the Alpine program, you can't even be used as a make weight to another F1 team that isn't Alpine with an engine deal.
True.
I've just had a look at the winning margin for Jim Clark. His winning margin was 2 minutes and 5 seconds.
That's like a couple of laps.
Easily in 1965.
That's mad.
Yeah, I think that would. Does it say what the lap times were?
No, I can't see any lap times with him. But yeah, his win 2 minutes and 5 seconds. He was. I think it was 6. It wasn't his first one though. I got that bit wrong. I think it was 64 was his first. So it was a second Indy 500. Yeah, you won it by 2 minutes and 5 seconds. All right, that was Jim Clark, and that was the 60s. But there's still, like Lee said before, there's still single-seater, open-wheel races. The skills are going to be transferable.
Oh, of course, they don't tell you what the lap times were with it being an oval. They tell you what the speed was, and then they tell you what the winning margin was. But yeah, I mean, Jim Clark led 190 laps of that race. I think he was quite good.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, and he was up against in that race rookie Mario Andretti.
Also reasonable.
Yeah. One of the drivers that made the jump from Indy to F1 and didn't do bad.
Yeah, the other Andretti didn't do so well, though, did he? When he did that with was it Michael Andretti?
Yeah, we don't talk about that one.
No, but how many drivers have made the jump from Indy to Formula One? Jacques Villeneuve,
Juan Pablo Montoya,
Sebastian Bourdais.
Yeah, no, did he go Formula One to Indy or Indy to Formula One?
He was already car champion when Red Bull brought him in, and then binned him off rapidly.
I didn't say he was a great example, just an example.
He was a good IndyCar driver, or champ car as it was then. He just wasn't a good F1 driver.
Yeah.
Well, I was just thinking, because I can't think of many bad examples where an IndyCar driver's come to Formula One and not done well.
I mean, Alex Zanardi's an odd one because he was in a bad Formula One car. Then he went and destroyed IndyCar completely. And then he came back to Formula One and he was in a bad Formula One car. Then he went back to Indy and he was good until his accident.
Yeah.
You know, I think he would have been better if he'd have been in better cars.
Wouldn't we all?
No, I mean that red and white Williams.
Awful looking car as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, so Jacques Villeneuve, obviously, 95 was in IndyCar, 96 was in Formula One, and then was champion in 97. Andretti was in Indy and then switched to Formula One, and he was 78 world champion.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I know Emerson Fittipaldi.
13 years
Fittipaldi
after his
did
IndyCar
Indy, didn't he?
debut. Fittipaldi was F1 first and then retired from F1
Yeah,
went to Indy and drove for about another 3,000 years.
Yeah. Emerson Fittipaldi, 20 years after winning the F1 championship, was Nigel Mansell's main rival for the IndyCar championship when he was driving.
And bearing in mind, this is a series that, unlike F1, doesn't have power steering.
Yeah.
We've still got 2 teams to go, by the way.
Oh crap! Okay, sorry. I forgot about race
we've
review.
tangented.
We went. That was one long time. That was a Joker lap. Right. So that leaves Mercedes and Red Bull. Do the top 2 teams all in one hit. Well, we'll do
Perez had a rubbish Saturday because he didn't do very well.
I was going to say we'll do Perez and then the top three.
Yes.
Yeah.
I agree with Lee that he stole driver of the day because he didn't do a good job on Saturday.
Correct.
Yeah. He's just not good at qualifying the car.
He did get, I think, was he not behind Vettel in the sort of what the fucker has doing queue?
He might have been actually.
I think he should have got an extra lap in that he didn't at the point where track evolution was crazy.
I would argue that in a Red Bull, he shouldn't have been in that position where he had to go out again.
There is an element of that as well, yes.
I think the problem was, though, the track was coming in that quickly that nobody knew if they were going to be safe or not, and as it turned out, he wasn't.
No one is safe if you're there immediately behind a Haas.
That is true. If you're behind two, does that
he
mean
was
you're
still
double
out,
danger?
wasn't he? Yeah, I think he was still out, wasn't he? He was still either out or in the drop zone when he had to go out again.
Mm-hmm.
It's he was nowhere near safe.
Yeah, no, the first lap was not good.
Yeah, but everyone was in the same boat, so that's not really. There's not much of an excuse there.
Yeah, and then obviously the pit lane start on Sunday. What was it? Gearbox and engine components.
Yeah, so that he doesn't have to take a penalty later in the season.
Yeah,
Which is, I suppose, as reasonable plan
and,
as any.
and it gives him a fresh engine for Monza because the teams always like to run the newest engine that they possibly can there.
Did anybody see? Was it Nico Rosberg talking to Otmar Safnauer about starting Vettel from the pit lane?
No.
No. Why did Vettel need the toilet as well?
No. We ignore all of that rubbish. But or it might not have been Nico Rosberg. Somebody spoke to Otmar Safnauer about, well, why didn't you start Vettel from the pit lane? Then you could have changed an engine without giving Vettel a penalty. He's like, oh, actually, I didn't think about that. That might have been a good idea.
Oh, wow.
Oh,
Tremendous.
that's not an admission you make, surely.
Yeah, Lee, I know you usually watch on F1 TV. Did you hear Nico Rosberg's pre-race toileting habits?
No, I didn't.
Good. You had the best of the TV.
Yeah. I mean, firstly, very disturbing that he'd used the phrase "my little toilet" to describe a wee. That's quite a disturbing set of words.
I go for my little toilet.
My little toilet. And also, don't piss in your car because you can't be arsed going through a crowd, man. What are you doing?
And also when
right up there, that's right up there with when grown men use the word yummy, but not speaking to a child. You know, if someone says, "Oh, is that yummy?" That's perfectly acceptable. But if you've got a grown man talking to another adult, so this donut's yummy. Fuck off.
I can't argue with that one in the slightest.
These are all reasonable comments.
Right, next up, top three in reverse order. Valtteri, it's James Bottas.
I would have had so much more time for Bottas if he'd actually properly kept his foot planted in Sector 3 and done a ridiculous fastest lap.
Well, he did get the fastest lap, didn't he? But then he backed off in the last sector, and I didn't think backing off in the last sector was going to be that much. But then when you look at Hamilton's fastest lap was actually 1.1 seconds quicker than Bottas's.
Oh, right, okay.
So maybe he did back off,
Yeah, I think he backed off massively.
It did take James, didn't it?
He backed off massively because Hamilton was only green in the first two sectors on his fastest lap.
He wasn't back on the track at that point yet, was he?
No, when Hamilton did his fastest lap, which was the last lap, Hamilton's first two sectors were green compared to Bottas's purple ones. It was all the third sector where Bottas had backed off that Hamilton made the time up.
Got you. But yeah, so Bottas is. I don't know if I want to see because it was a bit different, wasn't it? Because Massa wasn't fighting for a championship with Ferrari, either team wise or for himself. But Massa, when he was just like, well, fuck Ferrari, then I'm racing for myself. Well, when they told him they weren't going to renew his contract, I'm racing. Felipe Massa races for Felipe Massa. And I quite want to see Bottas do the same thing, but I don't think he can. Well, yeah, but I don't think he can because obviously still wants to get that team title.
Does he?
Yeah,
Yeah, I
is
think
that really
so.
what he's there for?
Yeah. Does he want to help win the constructors' championship where he's not even going to be in that constructor next year?
Yeah, I think so because it doesn't look great if you have a mild falling out with somebody and then you don't do your job to the best of your ability.
Doesn't
It's kinda
matter.
like
He's got
when
a
a foot-
contract now for next year, multi-year deal.
Are we saying that none of us have handed our notice in at work and then spent the whole of the notice period phoning it in?
Hear me out. I think it's really fucking suspect that Kimi Räikkönen hands his notice in and then gets the Rones.
Are you
I
suggesting
think it's a
either
very
that he's faking?
Kimi thing to do.
What, like when he says, I'm going to have to come to some kind of arrangement with the team if they're not going to pay me? Oh, I'm out, back surgery.
Yeah. So,
Yeah, my
are we
back- my
saying that
back's really
Kimi
sore.
is either faking the Rones or has gone out and partied that heartily that he's picked up the Rones?
I'm saying there's nothing wrong with Kimi and he hasn't got the Rones.
Well, have you not seen the video that I posted in our chat group?
Of him sat on his couch.
Yeah.
He sat on his couch. I bet he sits on his couch all the time.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
strikes me as standard Kimi behaviour.
Clearly not ill though, is he?
No. So, if Kimi has thought, I've had a fucking enough of this, and I can't, because when I was looking at the championship yesterday, he scored 2 points this year. He's had 2/10. That is not the season for a driver like Kimi Räikkönen wants to have.
Yeah,
No.
you can see
So-
why this year has sort of crushed it for him. He's like, nah,
He's,
I'm done.
he's had a Jenson Button year, hasn't he? Jenson Button and Fernando Alonso McLaren year, where it's just time for him not to be in that situation anymore.
That'd have even gone worse. I'd have got a Damon Hill at Jordan year.
So, if
Damon won a race in Jordan.
Yeah, but not in his last season,
No.
when he wanted to retire because he couldn't be bothered anymore.
But barring a slight Williams issue here, would you, if you were in a situation like Sauber are in or Alfa Romeo are in, wouldn't you prefer trying to get your next year's driver in the car before the end of the season? If Kimi Räikkönen decided he didn't want to race anymore. Also, if you were Mercedes, do you think George Russell would be more help to Lewis Hamilton winning a world championship than a broken Bottas?
Interesting. Very interesting.
Because I think this works for Bottas as well.
You're listening to this week's game of Shag,
It works
Marry,
it
Kill
works better for
F1
Bottas
style.
to get himself out of that team. Yeah, but it works better this way because if you have Bottas go straight there, that means he can build the relationship up with his new team. He can try and dust himself off from being absolutely fucking destroyed by Hamilton for this many years. And you bring your new guy up where he can get used to working with the team, and you can sort of kind of massage that relationship as well a little bit between Hamilton and George, because George is going to come in unable to win the world championship this year.
I suspect if Mercedes want a favour from Williams in not giving Albon a seat, then probably taking away their sort of main asset is probably not the way to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
You know,
bearing in mind as well that Bottas could potentially score Alfa Romeo points,
Uh-huh.
that Williams are ahead of Alfa Romeo in the championship at the moment.
And
So
I can't see Nick De Vries coming into a Williams, if it's not Albon, and scoring points.
Yeah, so
No.
to protect that Williams lead, I think Williams would put their foot down there and be like, you can wait till January, boys.
I don't think there's anything Bottas could do in that Alfa Romeo that would turn over a fucking 19-point deficit.
It's not. Is it 19 points?
Maybe not 19 points.
No, it's 16. I
Eight.
think Alpha are on 4, Williams are on 20.
Yeah, even so. I mean, that's... Yeah,
It should be a good enough lead.
Yeah, that like the sneaky fucking podium for Russell has all but sorted that out, hasn't it?
Yeah.
Oh, Williams are 8th. Alpha are 9th. Haas get the Giovinazzi Participation Award.
I just wonder whether there's after that, because obviously you wouldn't do it now because we've got a race next weekend. But how good is Bottas going to be for the rest of the year?
He might win in Sochi, but that's about it.
He does like a bit of Sochi, doesn't he?
I mean, he's had two goes at winning where he's been Jamesed out of it.
It was almost a meme, that wasn't it, when it popped in when he radioed into Valtteri.
Valtteri, it's James.
I was on the text chat on Discord, and then my first response was all in caps: Valtteri, it's James. Finish your drink.
I feel that there's been certain times in Valtteri's life where he's been having sex with his wife or girlfriend, and all of a sudden James has walked naked into his room and gone, "Valtteri, it's James. Withdraw, please."
Anyway,
moving swiftly on. We then had Hamilton in second, which is where he got off the line and where he pretty much stayed, except for the pit stop shuffling. Because Max Verstappen had a great start, was about 2.5 seconds up by the end of the first lap.
Something like that. Max was absolutely mighty, and I thought we might see something like where, especially after that first lap, where Verstappen just did an old school Vettel and disappeared like 30, 40 seconds into the distance. Hamilton did keep him honest, kept, I think the gap got up to like 4 or 5 seconds at one point, and then it was back down again to like 2. But there was nothing Lewis or Mercedes could have done. They say that a home crowd gives you an extra few tenths. My God, Verstappen must have had there's so much noise that they must have been giving him an extra second a lap. Like it was phenomenal.
I mean, Mercedes' strategy didn't exactly pay off though.
It was they rolled the dice. If it had come off well, we'd all be sat here now going, "Oh, what genius move that was by Mercedes to do that so early." But it now looks silly because all Red Bull had to do was cover them off. And in the past, Red Bull have been guilty of not reacting quick enough.
Yeah, I mean, Horner's come out and said today, and I think this one was with Autosport, that they were quite prepared to sacrifice a win to Bottas just to cover Hamilton. Because they only had, they had one car against 2. Obviously, Hamilton is the important one because of the situation with the championship. Cover off Hamilton and stay ahead of him. Well, he's not extending his lead anymore.
No, and now Max goes in with a 3-point lead to Monza. But it's interesting what Christian Horner was saying after the race. Obviously, Zandvoort was a circuit that was kind of more suited to the Red Bull, a bit more circuit dependent for the cars. But when you go to Monza, it's hard to tell at the moment. But it does look like on previous form for the early part of the season, it's probably going to be a Mercedes favourite track. Mm-hmm. So, and then you've got a run of Mercedes' favourite tracks, Sochi as well. Sochi, isn't it, after Monza? And then you go Singapore, which is a Red Bull circuit.
Which isn't happening.
Was it not?
No, it was cancelled a while back, that, I think.
Oh, it was, yeah.
Turkey instead of Singapore? Is that what's happening?
I think Turkey's then.
That race has sort of moved about a bit, hasn't it? So I've sort of lost track, but I think it's Turkey.
Hang on.
Yeah, Turkish Grand Prix on the 8th of October, which is in the same place as the cancelled Japanese Grand Prix. The Turkish Grand Prix was wet, wasn't it, last year? And we saw that Hamilton masterclass where he, sealed his championship. But then you got the US Grand Prix, which again is definitely a sort of Mercedes-based circuit and has been in the past. Mexico, which is Red Bull. Brazil, which is Red Bull. And then
now it's the 21st of November that's going to be interesting because it's either going to be Qatar, which is a complete and utter outlier, and no one knows what the hell that's going to be, or the Squoval, in which case
It could be Mercedes again.
It could be Mercedes because I mean, if you look at the pace that Russell had there last year,
yeah.
until the pit stop screw ups, and all right,
Yeah.
the finish was a complete surprise to everyone. But
But then you've got the Jeddah Street Circuit in Saudi Arabia. Nobody knows what's going to happen there, and that's the second to last Grand Prix of the year, and it's a totally new circuit.
It's still only half built as well at the minute.
Oh dear, there's
F1
that a bit up in the air as well.
yeah,
I don't think it is. I think it'll be fine. But yeah, F1 put some aerial photos of it up a couple of weeks ago. Still looks like a pile of sand.
Right, okay, and then obviously, Abu Dhabi has been a little bit of both, hasn't it, over the years? Really, it's been mostly Mercedes, but then obviously Max won there last year, so.
yeah. I think it's the 21st of November and 5th of December as things stand races that are going to be interesting. The November one for where it is and who it plays into, and Saudi Arabia because we're definitely into the unknown, and Zandvoort was really the unknown up until this weekend.
Yeah, but it was as I said, I don't think the race was particularly special. I think we've seen it before though, where we go to circuits and the first race at a new circuit isn't that great because people are just finding their feet.
Baku was getting mentioned a lot on Twitter and on chat on Sunday for their first year.
Yeah, but I think that Zandvoort is going to be one of those races come next year. It's going to be an absolute stormer, especially if the cars can follow each other and race each other much closer.
And they put DRS on the banking on the last corner,
Which they should have done this year.
Yeah, they weren't 100% convinced it was going to work, even though that corner was designed with DRS in mind.
That's why it was banked.
Yeah. I mean, I can't give you the names of the corners because all we got was Tarzan and 13 others with Dutch names.
What was that? Hugenholz Blitz. I can't
there,
speak Dutch.
Yeah.
I can't speak Dutch. Is a very confusing language.
There's the Gelakbocht, Hugenholzbock.
Hugenholzbock. That was the one I was looking at. I was like, what the hell?
Slottermaker box. We're gonna get a load of tweets from our Dutch listeners giving us the correct pronunciations again.
Apologies.
Oh, absolutely.
If you are
Yeah,
Dutch.
no.
And of course,
But,
Bocht 9 and Bocht 10.
Those ones
Turn
aren't
9
messing
and 10,
about,
yeah.
are they? They know what they're on about.
Yeah. Oh, hang on. Turn 14, the big bank curve at the end. Ari Lyondike. Previous double total. Who's a total shunt?
yes.
Because
yes.
Lee read the wrong one out twice. Oh, well, once because he'd already done that one.
I read them out right twice, not wrong.
You did a repeat. It was
Yes.
It was so good we had it twice.
Yeah.
Just like that episode of Dad's Army. Oh, wait.
That's all of them.
It's got the
Talking of which,
it's got
is
the
it
one,
that time?
It's got the one joke and stuck with it. Not quite yet because we haven't done Rockstars and Wankers yet. We haven't done any predictions for Monza. So Rockstars and Wankers for Zandvoort. The crowd.
Dutch fans, rock stars.
Although, to be honest, do we call them rock stars? Because with the amount of musical entertainment that was on offer, are they more hard house stars?
Maybe.
No, rock stars. No, it doesn't matter. They were having an amazing time. Without the fans, it would have been nothing. That's what made me want to go. The fact that the fans were having such a great time. I'm like, I'll go to this race next year.
Yeah, FOM for remembering that Holland had more former drivers than Jos by getting Guido van der Garde and Robert Doorknobs to do the interviews.
Robert Doorknobs.
I like Van der Garde, He seems like such a decent person.
He's kind of like the James Blunt of motor racing on Twitter.
Yeah, he's been consistently funny on Twitter, and he just seems like a nice guy. In fact, to be perfectly honest, even if I had two drivers, I'd probably still give him a drive.
You won't be the first.
A sobering thought.
Just very good. Just thinking about it, Nick De Vries is Dutch, isn't he?
He is.
So if you want to ride that wave of Dutch, not supremacy, but Dutch popularity in Formula One. If anybody's thinking of signing him now, might be a good time.
Yeah. Right. Any other rock stars and wankers? Are we doing the sort of traditional Haas being wankers just because of their general Haasness?
Do you know what I think?
Traffic was wankers.
Yeah, traffic was
Traffic in
wankery.
quali.
which was caused by Haas. So
In fact, do you know what? Haas not getting a penalty for backing up Vettel when it was exactly the same situation that got Vettel a penalty in was it Austria?
Yes.
Yeah. So
That's
stewards
pretty
wankers.
wankery.
Yeah.
Steward
Again,
wankery.
stewards being wankers, perfectly reasonable. Track designers being rock stars because we didn't have the debate about track limits because there was nothing but gravel.
Yeah.
Yeah, kept it old
offline,
school.
and that meant you had to stay on track.
Yeah, it was old school, wasn't it? It was good.
Alonso's opening lap, rock star.
Definitely. Do we call Seb a wanker for bringing out the first yellow that far into the race?
Not really. It was 30-something laps in.
He might have just
If it
got
was like
bored.
lap 1, then fair enough.
No, F3 managed that this weekend.
Yeah, that's probably about it.
I think one more rock star for the weekend.
Oh,
Friend of the podcast, Alice Powell.
yes.
Oh,
race
yes, of
winner.
course. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
Women's Series. Yeah.
W Series championship leader again.
Yeah, absolutely. And Abby as well for, was it 8th she finished?
I think so, yeah. Qualified 5th as well, which is just ridiculous for second time out
fantastic.
in the series.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If she doesn't have a permanent drive in W Series next year, there's something definitely wrong because you know two drives,
Yeah.
2 8th places.
Yeah.
Absolutely excellent.
With the last lap overtake as well, I think it was.
Yes.
Right then, predictions for Monza.
I mean, all things being equal, it should be a Mercedes dominant display, you would expect, unless there's some like wild weather situation.
Don't forget, we've got sprint qualifying this
Oh,
weekend.
fuck, I'd forgotten about that, actually.
Yeah, we have.
Oh, holy
Get
hell.
Vane up. Oh, I'm happy about that.
I mean, don't forget, I think they've done the sprint qualifying because the last couple of years qualifying at Monza has been an absolute shit
It has
show.
been a bit of an arse, hasn't it? I mean, actually, we didn't fully watch sprint qualifying at Silverstone because a boat caught fire outside our window and we went to watch that instead.
That is true.
So, yeah, difficult then. I think I'm still going to go for sort of a fairly boring podium. I think I'll still go Hamilton, Bottas, Verstappen. Literally the most boring podium.
Yeah, I think I'm doing the same, to be perfectly honest.
I'm going to go Hamilton, Verstappen, Bottas.
I'm going to go Hamilton, Verstappen, Norris.
We thought you would. If you want to join in with the predictions, now this is going to be predictions for the main race rather than sprint qualifying. So what happens on Sunday? Go to the website, threelegsportwheels.com, go to the games section, and it's 2021 Prediction League. Predict top 3 and pole position, which of course this time is going to be who finishes first in the sprint on Saturday. And also,
Race.
is there going to be a safety car and number of DNFs? See how you're doing on the league, which is up there. I'll have the prediction page for this one live by the time you listen to this show. Right, shunting time.
Yes.
Because I'm just before we do, I'm just gonna check the news just to see if
Nothing
they
has
snuck it in.
happened.
Right.
No, but Alex Jakes is a fairly
I've just
good...
seen Alex Jakes'
Yeah.
tweet.
Oh, I haven't.
Yeah.
I haven't.
Oh, he's tweeted, and it's the most wonderful time of the year, and wished everyone a happy George Russell Eve.
So we can officially say that it's going to be
feels
bloody
like
Tuesday
it's tomorrow.
news.
Tuesday news incoming.
Right. So if it isn't George Russell, you'll have heard
we've known this. We've known this since yesterday.
we have. Unless I've done a jump cut, then we haven't.
Congratulations. Enter name here.
Guido van der Gaard.
Well, he was there, so who knows?
Well, yeah.
Could have been signing.
He doesn't need
Lee, are
to.
you still there?
Yeah, he doesn't need to sign. He just turns up and grabs a spare race suit. Right, Lee, shunt time. Oh, Matt Crash and update. So Lee, at the moment,
So do we have to talk amongst ourselves for a minute?
we can talk amongst ourselves, or
I thought Lee was quiet.
yeah, it makes a bloody change, doesn't it? I can hit pause and we can wait till Lee comes back, or I can do a shunt from the reserve list, which I get sent just in case this kind of thing happens. Your call.
I'm not bothered either or.
Right, okay.
If he's doing an update as well as a crash, he might be a minute, to be fair. So.
Yeah, I think so. So let's.
So it might be double shunt.
Yeah, we could double.
We could have a double. Don't forget, we do need good shunts for next week because Virtual Statman's joining us for our 300th show. Can we have actually done that many shows?
I've just made the mistake of adjusting my microphone slightly to suit my slightly more reclined position, and I'm convinced it's now going to smack me in the face. So.
Yeah, the mic stand is lighter than the mic, so that probably happens. Now, I'm going to get topical with the shunt because this has been sent to us by Rolf Teve from the Netherlands.
Very nice.
Hello, Netherlands.
So, are we ready?
Yes.
I was born. Can I get a yay?
Yay.
Correct way, yay. Correct way to start the shunt. This is strong.
In 1943.
Okay. It's a long time ago.
Oh,
and during the war.
I pronounced the name wrong. It's Rolf Teve, not Rolf Teve.
Fair enough.
I know you're not a name basher like Lee, but anyway, ... Look,
no, it's gone wrong already.
Turns out I am. Clue 2. I died in a racing accident 3 months shy of my 40th birthday.
So that would be in 1973.
No,
83.
82 or 83.
My maths is.
Oh, no, wait, hang on. 83 or 84. Yeah, sorry.
Yes.
Okay. Clue 3. I have driven for 7 different Formula 1 teams. And I will need a guess.
So this is someone who's bounced around a little bit.
Gilles Villeneuve wasn't. He was 79. Was it 1979? His death, or 81?
I thought it was.
I
82.
get very confused. Maybe it is, but he wasn't 40 though, was he?
I don't believe he was. No. But I don't have a smarter offer than Gilles Villeneuve.
I think somebody else may have died either in that incident or at that race, and much like the guy whose name I've just forgotten, also Roland Ratzenberger gets forgotten about a little bit when it comes to the the memorialization of the whole thing. I can't remember who that was, but we'll continue.
Which is one of the few good things that Max Mosley ever did, was going to his funeral, because it was at the same time as Senna's, and everybody else went to Brazil, but Max Mosley actually went to Austria.
Well done, Max. Well, he's not listening. He's also dead now. So
This is taking a cheery turn.
So you're going for Gilles Villeneuve as your first guess?
Yes, please.
Possibly, yeah.
Okay. Clue 4. I entered 63 F1 races, but only started 54.
Well, back in the days of pre-qualifying.
Yeah.
But I mean, starting 54 out of 63...
It's not terrible.
No, it's pretty good.
I scored a career total of 14 points, and my only podium finish was the 1970 Austrian GP.
I feel this is not Gilles Villeneuve.
No, that's too early for Gilles Villeneuve, isn't it? 1970, my only podium.
Yeah. I have nothing.
It's not going to be It's not going to be somebody that's particularly well known, is it?
No. No, I don't think it is. I think it's going to be a niche. A niche one, this.
This is obviously Jochen Rindt died in 1970, but he obviously had more than one podium because he
won a world championship.
Yes, yeah.
Clue 6. Although I did F1, I was more successful in sports cars.
Okay, yeah, not hugely up on sports cars anyway, but especially not from... No. Oh dear.
You appear to be stumped on this one.
Yes.
Yeah, so far.
Yep. Do you want to bank your next guess and we'll just keep going?
I've got to be honest, I don't have anything to offer, so I think that might be... Might be for the best.
All right.
Yeah, same here. Yeah, I might have an idea, but I want more clues first.
Right. Okay, clue 7. I have driven in the 24 hours of, and for one of the first times on a total shunt, it'll be said properly, Le Mans.
Mm-hmm.
Well, no, hang on. What about Le Mans?
Le Mans.
I've driven in the 24 hours of Le Mans with Paul Newman.
Did Lee come back on yet?
No,
he
not yet.
hasn't.
I'm keeping an eye on the chat. So yeah, I've driven in the 24 hours of that French race at that circuit where nobody can agree on the pronunciation with Paul Newman. Clue number 8. I am a 4 times winner of the 24 hours of Daytona.
Oh wow. Okay, so possible American or
Possible American sounds reasonable.
And it takes a little bit of a dark turn from now.
Oh Christ!
Yeah.
okay. So hang on. How many more guesses before we have to give our?
Is this clue number 8?
That was clue number 8. I've got it up to number 10.
Oh shit! Right.
We should know who it is by now.
Yeah, I'm not doing so well, I don't think.
And here's where it starts to take the dark turn. Clue 9. At the 1975 Spanish Grand Prix, my car had a rear wing failure which caused it to fly into the crowd, killing 5 spectators.
Oh, yes. I've seen... I don't think it's video. I think I've seen pictures of what happened. Very grim.
And clue 10. In my final race, I also crashed due to a rear wing failure, which led to my death by severe brain injury.
Oh, dear.
Yeah, that'll do
The
it.
rear wing failure. 3 months shy of his 40th birthday.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I do not know.
I mean, Francois Sever was before that. He died in like 73.
I'm
Yeah, I can't.
desperately scrabbling around trying to find a spaffer. Keep going, if you can.
Okay. Just trying to think of drivers from the 70s who would have possibly met an end on the track, which of course is never what you want to see or hear of, but it was quite common back then. Obviously, Jochen Rindt, but we've previously mentioned it can't be him because he was a posthumous world champion in 1970. One podium is a bit that's getting me as well.
Yeah.
If it's one podium, I don't think it's a driver that we're going to know. The only one I can kind of think of from that era, and I think he had way more than one podium. I think Chris Amon had. I think he had the record for the most podiums without a win until Romain Grosjean came along. So I don't think it's him. I think he got more than one podium, and I don't know. I can't remember how Chris Amon died. Whether it was natural causes or whether he died on the track, I'm not sure.
The only spaffer I can remotely find is in my one NASCAR race at Talladega. I came 39th.
Oh, come on!
This is not helpful information. I really have nothing to offer.
Nah, I think we are. Well, I am certainly stumped.
Absolutely
I haven't got this one at
defeated.
all. Yeah, no.
Congratulations, Rolf. You have stumped. Well, you've stumped Sean and Chris. It was Rolf Stommelen.
Rolf Stommelen.
Yes.
I do not know of Mr. Stommelen, but I like his name.
Yeah, German driver, rocking the curly hair and aviator shades look in his Wikipedia page picture.
I may Google now.
His last race was actually a 6-hour GT race at Riverside International Raceway.
Right.
With Derek Bell as his co-driver. He seems to have had a fairly interesting career. The F1 teams that he drove for, Roy Winkleman Racing,
Yeah.
Our favourite German publication, Automotor und Sport, had a team
Oh, okay.
that merged with Surtees. He also drove for Graham Hill's Embassy Racing team. Hesketh Racing in 1976.
So he took James Hunt's place.
Yeah, and moved to Arrows in 1978.
Well, I'm sorry that I didn't recognise Mr. Stommelin, but he looks very familiar.
He has that very sort of 70s racing car driver look.
He
doesn't
looks a little bit like Lewis Collins in The Professionals.
Yeah, a little bit, yeah.
It's kind of that 70s maverick detective cop show kind of look. We're discussing wiki pages. I don't think Lee's coming back, is he?
No, he's binned us off.
Yeah, I think he has. Right, if you want to send in a total shunt, then the best way to do it to get it to Lee is to send a DM on Twitter or Instagram to @atotalshunt. If you want to get one on the reserve list, because I am now one down. Thank you, Rolf, for sending that one in. Then you can drop it on an email.
Wait, no, Rolf didn't send it in, did he? Or that was the driver.
Rolf Taway sent it in. He sent.
Oh, okay.
He sent a shunt in that was his
There
name.
are more than one Rolf.
Oh, okay.
Oh, we can mention the name Rolf without any connotations while he's not here. This is brilliant.
Yes.
Quickly moving on.
Yes.
Yep. So if you want to send it in to put it on the reserve list, 3legs4wheels@gmail.com, and you can use that email address to get in touch with us as well. You can get in touch with us on the socials, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, all at 3legs4wheels, and individually we are
At Sean Cowper.
At Flood21.
and at Pablo100. If you want to get access to the show early, you can sign up for Patreon as well. If you go to patreon.com/3legs4wheels, you can sign up from as little as $1, £1, or €1 a month. Sometimes we do an extra show for patrons when the hardware
When time
doesn't
affords
break down,
us.
when we've got the time to do it, and everything you pledge and donate, it goes to the upkeep of the show, keeping us sane, buying us biscuits, that sort of
Important stuff.
the important stuff. And it was a Patreon payout just happened now, so I hope we've all got quality biscuits tonight.
Not currently.
Chris, you are letting the side down.
I am.
We will be back next week for our 300th show. We'll be joined by Virtual Statman. If you want to drop us a message and ask how the hell we made it to 300 shows, then the answer to that is do it, but we haven't got a bloody idea how. But we want to thank everyone for listening over these last 6 years, 6.5 years.
Nearly 7.
Yeah, almost 7. My God. So yes, thank you to everyone for listening over the last 299 shows, and let's see what the Italian Grand Prix and show number 300 brings. Stay safe, and we'll see you next week. Bye bye.
We will.
Bye.
Bye.
See ya.